This week is National Eating Disorders Awareness Week. So all this morning we are learning about the triggers, pressures, treatment, and recovery.
This year's theme is Everybody Knows Somebody. And here to talk with us more about this serious illness is Heather Wingert, the director of the Center for Disordered Eating. Thanks for being with us.
Having me.
Yeah, glad you could be here. Let's talk a little bit about the illness and this theme. This is really a prevalent disease for a lot of people still even today. And we've heard a lot of talk about it in recent years.
It is. It affects approximately in the United States 20 million women and 10 million men, and will struggle with a significant eating disorder at some point in their life. So it is a major issue and one to be talked about. And so National Eating Disorders Awareness Week is really an opportunity to promote awareness and education within Western North Carolina about eating disorders and to help people understand that they are significant disorders and actually have the highest death rate of all mental illnesses.
Is there one particular, I think about bulimia, anorexia, other diseases I don't even know about, what's the most prevalent?
Well, what we do know is that amongst eating disorders, that includes anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating disorder. And binge eating disorder is on the rise and seems to be the most prevalent, and it's a disorder that hasn't officially been coined as a term yet until May of this year. So
wow.
It's a new term that's being entered into the Diagnostic Statistical Manual that psychologists and counselors use to diagnose.
And we know a lot of this, we talk about unrealistic body image. We're coming fresh off of the Oscars last weekend and we see all the images on the red carpet.
Absolutely.
Is that continuing this trend and being a problem for our younger folks?
Well, I think if we look past 30 years, we've seen an increased incidence in eating disorders and obesity. And when we look at our bodies, biology-wise, we haven't changed a whole lot in the past 1,000 years. But what has changed is our environment and how much it can promote genes to be turned on or turned off. And so I think we have to look at Western culture and how much that contributes to this thin ideal and what's expected to be adored in our culture.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn.
Yeah, and coming up in our next half hour, we're going to actually find out about a treatment option that is really helping folks get back on the right track. And we will be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Time right now, 5:52. This week is National Eating Disorders Awareness Week. So all this morning we are learning about the triggers, pressures, treatment, and of course the recovery.
And this half hour we have a guest, and it's a yoga teacher. Elizabeth Shirt is here this morning, and thank you very much for being with us. And you know, we were talking about the illness. It's serious. Yoga helps?
It does, yeah, especially when used as a complement or in combination with more traditional interventions or Western treatment. Yeah, definitely.
What types of things do you see? What are people struggling with?
Well, I mean, the way that yoga can help with what people are struggling with is that it can teach people to sort of calm themselves down, to decrease their stress level and promote relaxation. It also promotes, so here's a big word, interoceptivity, which is your ability to listen and respond to stimulus, like internal stimulus in the body. And then just mindfulness, so awareness of your thoughts, things like that.
Yeah, because I guess that's a large part of what yoga is about, is trying to get in touch with, you know, your inner self, I guess, and being in control of everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Holly wants to see me do some yoga. So what are some of the moves? I mean, I've done yoga. I know a lot of folks who watch who've done yoga. I know the downward dog, the upward dog, what I don't know, I got the name wrong. I don't know what you call it. I know the ballet dancer, you know, this one. You ever see that one? You know, I can do that.
Yeah.
Is there any?
And you said there's breathing exercises too. So what do you tell folks? What helps?
Okay. So a really basic breathing exercise we could do would be Ujjayi Pranayama, and this means a victorious breath. So it's kind of an empowering breath.
Okay.
So we just start by bringing like a constriction to the base of the throat. And to feel this, you can hold your hand in front of your face and pretend you're like fogging up a mirror.
Right.
So just do that, like that. Make that noise, a little bit like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Okay, right? Now close your mouth.
I don't even have to breathe like that and then get called Darth Vader.
Okay. So now close your mouth.
Okay.
And continue to breathe in that way.
Oh, that tightens up your core, doesn't it?
Maybe.
I stopped breathing. That's what happened.
And that will help people focus and just calm down a little bit.
Especially when you balance the inhale and the exhale. So just that constriction of the throat, and then carefully timing that your inhale and the exhale are the same. so you balance the nervous system.
And when you're teaching people, what do they say? What kind of feedback do you get?
That it's helped them to cope with stress, and that it's sometimes an outlet too, an outlet for stress, and that just overall helps you in staying centered and kind of no matter what's coming at you in life.
Okay, Elizabeth, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Yeah, coming up in our next half hour, we're actually talking with a young woman whose friend recently died from bulimia and the struggles that she's faced trying to help her friend.
And I'm going to have Elizabeth J. help me out with that. What is that move called? The one where you go like this, and I think it's the ballet dance. So I got to grab the instep here. Look, Jay, I'm flying.
Oh, yeah. And when you were talking about all the dog moves earlier, you were sounding more like Randy Jackson than Frank Fraboni. I got to tell you that. 6:17 right now. Welcome into the Morning Surf. All morning we've been talking about eating disorders.
Yeah, very serious issue. We've been looking at the different types of eating disorders, how to get help. We're going to be talking with some people about their struggles with it. So right now I want to give you basically a very easy way to find some help, get some information. The theme for this year is everybody knows somebody. So hopefully this will help somebody out there. If you might need to help a friend or a loved one, a family member, the Center for Disordered Eating is the first website. This is the local website here. This is local events that are going on right here on the right-hand side, things that you can do, different talks, yoga we did in the last half hour, talking about how that is helping a lot of folks in recovery. United States, 20 million women and 10 million men suffer from a clinically significant eating disorder at some point in their life. So clearly the numbers are absolutely astonishing. So eating disorder information right here, the types, the risk factors, what to look for, everything you need is here. And we're also going to link you this morning at WLOS.com to the national website here, finding help, getting involved, things that you can do to help out. And again, right there, everybody knows somebody you can help learn how.
I had no idea it affected so many men.
And you know, it's talked about some, but then again, it's not talked about as much. There's so many people that actually die from this illness, and we hear a lot of, we talk a lot about cancer and some other things, but this is also very, very important, affecting folks, young and older folks.
That's right. People of all ages, and we hear about young girls going through it, but it's not just them.
Right.
And that's important to realize in all this. So.
This week is National Eating Disorders Awareness Week, so all this morning we've been learning about the triggers, pressures, treatment, and of course, recovery.
Yeah, this is a topic that touches a lot of people, many more than probably a lot of folks think. And with us now is Heather Wingert from the Center for Disordered Eating. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
We've had you here all morning. We've been talking about this all morning long, and in the different ways that it manifests itself. What kind of help does the center offer?
Well, the Center for Disordered Eating is a nonprofit. We're the only nonprofit in the state of North Carolina that mobilizes support and resources for individuals and families affected by eating disorders. And we offer several services regardless of ability to pay. So we have a free adult support group that's every Wednesday from 7 to 8 for anybody who's in recovery from an eating disorder. And then we have a monthly family support group the third Saturday of the month from 10 to 11:30 at the center. And then we also do a lot of community outreach, education in the community with schools, coaches, medical and behavioral health care providers, as well as a school prevention program where we go into the schools and provide curriculums to teachers around building self-esteem, body esteem, and confidence in our youth.
What is it that parents and friends and teachers and everybody needs to look out for? What are the signs and symptoms of this?
Well, the first thing I think to realize is that eating disorders are complicated, and a lot of times the signs are not as obvious. A lot of times people think that losing weight is a sure sign, but I think one is isolation. Someone who is starting to withdraw from their life, it may be in terms of school activities, personal life, social life, that's a big indicator, but also too, having someone, if you have concerns or questions, talking with someone, whether it's a physician or a therapist in the community, as well as calling the center. And we can help you just guide through that whole process.
Do people who suffer from these sorts of disorders, they have a hard time accepting it, or are they in denial?
It really depends on the individual.
Okay.
A lot of times there can be denial, and sometimes family is the first to intervene or look for help, but also someone can be well aware, and it can be happening for several years before they're at a place to seek help and get treatment.
Yeah, and these can be deadly.
Absolutely. It's the most lethal disorders of all mental health diagnoses. So it's important that for anyone that they seek help and recovery sooner than later, because that shows better outcomes.
And speaking of recovery, next half hour, we're going to be speaking with somebody who's going through the recovery and get a little bit of a personal story.
And Heather from the Center for Disordered Eating, thank you for coming in this morning.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back.
Thank you, Stan. Well, this week is National Eating Disorders Awareness Week, and so all this morning we've been talking about different elements of this disease, what causes it, and treatment, and recovery, and so forth. And with us now is a person who knows this disease personally through a friend, Hillary Parham. Glad you're with us. Now, you had a friend who passed away recently from one of these disorders. Tell us a little bit about that. What happened?
Yes, actually, since I've been involved around cheerleading and gymnastics my whole life, I've had a lot of friends, but most recently my best friend passed away from bulimia, and people just always see on the news maybe a car accident or anything, they're like, oh, that's really sad, but that can never happen to me.
Right.
And you know, I think girls with eating disorders, they think that as well. They're so focused on, you know, looking good, they want to be this, or they just want to control something, and they don't realize that it's deadly.
Right.
And so it really does affect the people that they leave behind. So it's worth so much more to have your family or your sister or your friends around to live life than to lose
Enjoy
someone
yourself.
to look
Yeah,
good.
I mean,
yeah.
because I know it's in a competitive world like that, you're also
Yes.
looking at yourself all the time.
Yes.
Your physical appearance and just the way you behave around other people and all.
Yes.
I wonder, you know, when people are in those situations, what are there signs? Did you notice anything? And how soon did you notice?
I noticed day one, actually, but that's because she was my best friend,
Right,
and
right.
I was around her every single day. And like the doctor had said in the last segment, sometimes the symptoms are obvious, sometimes they're not. And I have a few things that are obviously not. My best friend is she just started saying she was nauseous all the time. And when I'm nauseous, I'm nauseous. I can't be in a car. I can't be anywhere. And so she would be nauseous, and then about 5 hours later, when we were done with our little shopping trip or whatever, I could hear her in the bathroom, and I'm like, you know, I'm not silly.
That's bulimia is, I guess, you
Yes.
eat and then purge.
Yes,
That's what
and I
happens.
think eventually, as far as everything goes, it does turn into anorexia because they realize I don't want to throw up, so I'm not going to eat.
Right.
And then my other friend, I had a flyer with cheerleading, and she would take sleeping pills and NyQuil just constantly. She was asleep, and I started wondering, I was like,
Right.
why are you so tired?
Oh, that's not
and
good.
she was doing it not to just not eat.
Well, the important thing here is that, you know, folks recognize it, persuade them to get help. And after the break, we're going to hear from a family, a husband and wife who deal with this disorder. More on that. Hillary, thanks for coming in.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you coming here. We'll be right back right after this.